It was a quiet night on January 15, 2025, in Chester, Virginia, a small town just 20 miles south of Richmond. The air hung heavy at 45 degrees Fahrenheit, the kind of chill that seeped into your bones, while the deserted streets glowed faintly under flickering streetlights. Maya Jackson gripped the steering wheel of her black Ford Explorer, her sharp eyes scanning the empty road that stretched barely 2 miles ahead. At 35, she was no stranger to late nights. Years as an undercover FBI agent had honed her instincts to a razor's edge. She'd been wrapping up a months-long investigation into corruption in Chester's police department, and tonight she was finally heading home. But as she slowed to a stop at a red light 300 feet back, blue and red lights erupted in her rearview mirror, followed by the shrill wail of a siren slicing through the silence. 2 white cops, Tom Hayes and Derek Walsh, swaggered out of their patrol car, their badges glinting like a taunt. Hayes leaned into her window, his voice dripping with fake authority. "You ran that light back there, ma'am. Step out." Maya's jaw tightened. She knew she'd stopped. Her training didn't allow for sloppy mistakes. "I didn't run anything," she said evenly, her tone steady but laced with fire. Inside, her blood boiled. Another damn shakedown. "They see my skin and think I'm an easy mark." Walsh smirked, already circling her SUV like a vulture. "We'll see about that," he muttered. Maya's hands stayed calm on the wheel, but her mind roared with fury. They've got no idea who they're messing with tonight. This isn't just profiling, it's their funeral. The quiet streets of Chester were about to witness a storm, and Maya Jackson was its eye. The cold had tightened around Chester, Virginia, as the clock struck midnight. The 45 degrees Fahrenheit chill clung to the air, frosting the edges of Maya Jackson's black Ford Explorer as it sat parked on the shoulder of a narrow 2-mile stretch of asphalt. Just moments ago, she'd been savoring the thought of wrapping up her undercover FBI stint, months spent digging into the rot festering within Chester's police department. Now, that quiet satisfaction was torched by the flashing red and blue lights still pulsing in her rearview mirror. Tom Hayes and Derek Walsh, the 2 white cops who'd pulled her over with their trumped-up, ran a red light excuse, weren't just fishing for trouble. They were setting a trap, and Maya could smell it from 300 feet away. Her hands stayed steady on the wheel, but inside her blood simmered. "They think they've got me cornered. Let's see how long that lasts." Hayes leaned closer to her window, his breath fogging in the cold, his smug grin practically begging to be wiped off. "License and registration," he barked, his voice thick with fake authority. Maya handed them over, her movements slow and deliberate, every nerve in her body screaming. This isn't about a traffic stop. Walsh, meanwhile, prowled around her SUV like a hyena, his flashlight beam slicing through the dark. "Mind if I take a look?" he called out, already popping the trunk before she could answer. Maya's jaw clenched. "I didn't consent to that," she said, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. Hayes chuckled, waving her off. "Probable cause, sweetheart. You were acting twitchy." "Twitchy?" Her mind roared. "The only thing twitching here is your lying tongue." Seconds later, Walsh let out a theatrical, Well, what do we have here?" He held up a small plastic bag, the kind you'd see in a bad cop movie, filled with a white powder that glinted under his flashlight. It dangled from his fingers like a trophy, and Maya's stomach twisted, not with fear but with a white-hot fury. She knew that bag wasn't hers. She'd stopped at a gas station 5 miles back to refuel, her tank now reading 3/4 full, and she checked every inch of that trunk herself. This was a plant, a cheap, dirty setup, and these clowns thought they'd hit the jackpot. "Looks like a felony to me," Walsh said, smirking as he tossed the bag onto the hood. Hayes stepped closer, his eyes glinting with malice. "Possession with intent to distribute. That's what, 10 years minimum? Better start talking, Jackson." Maya's lips curled into a faint, dangerous smile. "You're digging your own graves," she said softly, her voice a low burn that made Walsh falter for half a heartbeat. Inside, her rage was a wildfire. "They've done this before, framed people like me, ruined lives, and walked away laughing." She'd seen the stats. Black drivers stopped 3 times more often in Chester than white ones, half those stops ending in convenient drug busts. But they didn't know about the tiny recorder stitched into her jacket, humming silently, capturing every word, every sneer. Hayes scoffed, misreading her calm for surrender. "Tough talk won't help you in lockup. Step out, now." The cuffs clicked around her wrists, cold steel biting into her skin, but Maya didn't flinch. She stood tall, 5 feet 8 inches of coiled defiance, as they shoved her toward the patrol car. The 3-mile ride to the station was a blur of flashing lights and Hayes' smug commentary, "You'll crack by morning, everyone does." Walsh chimed in, "Should have stayed in your lane, lady." Maya stared out the window, the frost-rimmed streets of Chester sliding past, her mind racing. They think this is checkmate. They don't know I'm holding the whole damn board. The Chester PD station loomed ahead, a squat brick building bathed in the harsh glow of sodium lights. Inside, they marched her past a sleepy night shift crew, 3 officers sipping coffee at desks 10 feet apart, and into a holding cell no bigger than 8 by 10 feet. The door slammed shut, echoing off the concrete walls, and Hayes lingered, peering through the bars. "Sleep tight, princess," he sneered, tapping the metal with his flashlight. Walsh joined in, tossing the planted bag onto a counter nearby with a grin. "Caught her red-handed," he bragged to the room. The other cops barely looked up, their silence a quiet endorsement of the game. Maya sank onto the metal bench, her posture rigid, her dark eyes locked on the bars. The cell smelled of mildew and stale coffee, the fluorescent buzz overhead drilling into her skull. She didn't sleep. Sleep was for people who gave up. Instead, she replayed the stop in her head. Hayes' fake accusation, Walsh's staged discovery, the bag that wasn't there 5 miles ago. Her recorder had it all, proof that would bury them. Her fury sharpened into a blade. They've gotten away with this too long, but not tonight. Outside, Hayes and Walsh laughed over donuts in the break room 15 feet down the hall, their voices carrying through the thin walls. "She's toast," Hayes said, crumbs falling onto his uniform. "Slam dunk," Walsh agreed, oblivious to the storm brewing in the 8 by 10 cage they'd locked her in. Maya leaned back, her fingers brushing the recorder's hidden switch. One press and her team, 25 miles away in Richmond, would get the signal. She closed her eyes, not in defeat, but in anticipation. "They think they've won," she thought, her pulse steady despite the rage clawing at her chest. "But I'm about to burn this whole damn house down." The tension in that tiny cell was a live wire, crackling, waiting to ignite. The clock in the Chester, Virginia police station crept toward 3 a.m., the frigid 45 degrees Fahrenheit night pressing against the frost-coated windows. Inside the 8 by 10-foot cell, Maya Jackson sat like a coiled spring, her dark eyes glinting with a fury that had been simmering since Tom Hayes and Derek Walsh pulled her over on that deserted 2-mile stretch of road. The fake red light violation, the planted bag of powder found in her trunk 5 miles from its origin, the smug cackles echoing from the break room 15 feet down the hall, it all fueled a fire in her chest that refused to die. She'd spent hours in this concrete box, the mildew stench clawing at her lungs, her recorder humming silently in her jacket. Hayes had sneered through the bars, "You're toast," while Walsh bragged about their slam dunk. But Maya wasn't broken, she was waiting. And now the storm she'd summoned was about to break. Across the station, Ethan Brooks, a 24-year-old rookie with a buzz cut and a conscience that wouldn't quit, hunched over a flickering monitor. He'd watched the whole damn thing unfold on the security feed, the stop 300 feet from that red light, Walsh's theatrical reveal of the bag, Hayes' cocky grin as they cuffed her. It didn't sit right. Ethan's gut churned every time he passed the break room, hearing Hayes boast, "She's just another mark," over a stale donut. He'd seen the stats. Black folks like Maya stopped 3 times more often in Chester, half-framed with evidence that stank of setup. Tonight, that gnawing unease turned to rage. "They think they're untouchable," he fumed, fingers trembling as he pulled up the footage again. The timestamp glared back, 12:07 a.m., Maya's calm denial clear as day. "This ain't justice, it's a damn lynching with paperwork." Against every ounce of rookie caution, Ethan fired off an anonymous email to the FBI's Richmond office, 25 miles north, attaching the video with a single line, "Something's rotten here. Help." Maya felt the shift before she heard it, a ripple in the station's lazy hum, a tightening in the air. Her recorder had pinged her team hours ago, and now the cavalry was close. She leaned back, her 5'8" frame radiating a quiet menace, when the front doors slammed open. Boots echoed on the linoleum, 5 pairs, deliberate and heavy. Special Agent Ryan Carter stormed in, his graying buzz cut and steely glare cutting through the night shift's haze. Behind him, 4 FBI agents fanned out, badges flashing like blades under the sodium lights. "This ends now," Ryan barked, his voice a thunderclap that froze the room. The desk sergeant, a burly guy named Pete, stammered, "What the hell's this about?" Ryan's reply was ice. "Federal warrant. Step aside." Maya's lips twitched, a predator's smile. "They're here." Hayes and Walsh stumbled out of the break room, coffee cups slipping from their hands as Ryan's team cornered them. "You too," Ryan said, pointing, "front and center." Hayes tried to play it cool, smirking, "What's the problem, Fed?" But his eyes darted like a trapped rat's. Walsh paled, his bravado melting into sweat. Ryan tossed a tablet onto the counter, the screen blazing with Ethan's footage, Hayes' fake accusation, Walsh planting the bag, their laughter as they dragged Maya away. "Explain this," Ryan snapped. The room went dead silent, every cop's gaze burning into the duo. Maya's cell door buzzed open and she stepped out, her presence a blade slicing through their lies. "You thought you'd bury me," she said, her voice low and lethal, rising to a roar. "You think you can keep ruining lives and walk away? Not tonight, you bastards." The station erupted. Hayes lunged for an excuse. "That's edited." But Ryan cut him off, slamming down audio files from Maya's recorder. "Walsh's should have stayed in your lane, Hayes 10 years minimum." The evidence was a noose tightening around their necks. Ethan stood frozen at his desk 10 feet away, his pulse hammering as he realized his email had lit the fuse. Maya locked eyes with him, a nod of fire passing between them. Then she turned back to Hayes, her voice a whip. "I've got every word, every smirk, your whole damn game. You're done." Walsh crumpled, hands on his head, while Hayes' face twisted into a snarl that crumbled under Ryan's glare. Outside, the frost glittered under streetlights as sirens wailed in the distance, backup arriving to haul the trash away. Maya stood at the cell's threshold, her breath fogging in the cold, her fury a living thing. This is for everyone they've crushed, she thought, fists clenched. The truth hadn't just surfaced, it had exploded, and Chester's dirty little empire was burning down around her. Dawn broke over Chester, Virginia, the sky a bruised purple as the 45 degrees Fahrenheit chill lingered, frosting the streets where Maya Jackson's nightmare had begun. The 2-mile stretch of road, once a trap set by Tom Hayes and Derek Walsh, now lay quiet, its silence a stark contrast to the chaos that had erupted hours ago. The planted bag, the cuffs biting her wrists in that 8 by 10-foot cell, the smug laughter echoing from the break room 15 feet away, all of it had crumbled under the weight of truth. As Maya stepped out of the station, the cold stung her face, but her eyes burned with a fierce pride. Hayes and Walsh were led past in handcuffs, their heads bowed, their empire of lies reduced to ash by her recorder's hum and Ethan Brooks' courage. The charges against her, possession with intent, vanished like smoke, while their decades-long scam unraveled, case after case reopened across Chester's 20-mile radius. Maya stood still, her 5'8" frame unyielding, watching the patrol car haul them away. Tears welled, not from weakness but from a raw, searing victory. This is for every soul they broke. Ethan approached, his rookie badge glinting faintly. "You changed everything," he said, voice shaky. She clasped his shoulder, her grip firm. "You did too." Later, at a diner 5 miles out of town, she sipped coffee, the steam curling like a ghost of her rage. Headlines screamed, "FBI busts Chester corruption." But Maya's fight wasn't over. As she drove off, Richmond's skyline 25 miles north loomed ahead, her next mission calling. The frost gleamed under her tires, a fragile beauty masking the fire within. Justice had roared through Chester, and its echo lingered in her steady heartbeat. Maya Jackson's story in Chester, Virginia, is more than a tale of corruption toppled. It's a raw lesson in resilience and justice. First, it teaches us that truth, no matter how buried, has a way of clawing its way out. Maya's calm defiance against Hayes and Walsh shows that staying sharp and standing firm can turn the tables on even the dirtiest setups. Second, Ethan Brooks reminds us that one voice, even a rookie's, can spark change. Don't stay silent when you see wrong, no matter the cost. Finally, the fallout in Chester screams a hard truth. Systems can fail, but people can fix them. In today's world, this means speaking up when you're profiled, documenting everything, and trusting your gut when something stinks. Justice isn't handed out, it's fought for. So, keep your eyes open, your resolve steel, and fight like hell when it counts. Thank you for watching the video. Please comment with number 1 to let me know you have watched the whole video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to always receive new videos as soon as possible.